Yo, what's going on today, guys? Back here for another video. We have the full set list for Shining Revelry, which is, the new mini set that comes out tonight. And yeah, basically I'm gonna go look at all the cards. I've had a good like 10 hours to basically think about some of these cards. And yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on the full set. I've won 2 tournaments. I've had a bunch of top 8 placings. I like to think I know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the game. At the same time, there are some cards that haven't, we won't know how good they are until we actually playtest them. So remember, these are just my initial thoughts and opinions and just like stuff I've been thinking about for the last 10 hours. So first off, we have the new Beedrill line. We only have a Weedle Kakuna. We don't have like a new Beedrill that's like non-EX, but obviously we have the EX Pokemon. And I've already talked about the EX Pokemon before seeing the full set list. So what I want to do before I go to all of the EXs, I'm going to look at all of the for example, for Beedrill, I'll look at all the grass types and then I'll talk about Beedrill. I'm not skipping over it and I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to, talk about all the grass types first. So we have this new Weedle. So if we click on this, basically what it does is you put one random Weedle into your bench. Pretty nice. It's basically like that coughing. I think like Nidoran or like Nido. Well, one of the Nidos also had this ability, I think. But basically it's just nice to snell out the deck. And I kind of like this because we already have the other Weedle. If I go here. So we have this other Weedle that does the 20 damage. So my mind always thinks when I'm thinking about the game, okay, we have this new one. In my mind, I'm always thinking about the worst case scenarios. Okay, what if I use this and it's on the bench, but I never draw a second set of evolutions and I lose the game because it gets super in it or something. So I like having the option between this one and the old one that does 20 damage. They both still have 50 HP, 1 retreat cost. So the only difference is the attack. Yeah, so I like kind of having that option. I know I've been seeing some people build decks already, and I've already been doing that too. I know people are playing like a only Beedrill deck with just the 2 Weedles, 2 Kakunas, and 2 Beedrills. That's it. I think this Weedle would shine in that deck, where the other one might be better. If you're playing more of a grass deck with Beedrill and something else. And then we have this Kakuna. So this Kakuna is 1 energy for 20 damage. The nice thing is though, it can paralyze, which I think this is actually a really good ability, basically to stall your opponent. If they're playing a basic Pokemon, they might potentially, you might paralyze a non-evolution or a Pokemon that's going to evolve. So they might evolve, get rid of the paralysis, but I still like this over just having straight damage. I think the chance to paralyze is pretty nice, and it could literally win you a game potentially, bruh. So I just think it's a nice option. So next up we have this Pinsir with Giratina Rush. Also, so 50 damage for 3 energy, and if you land, so you flip a coins until you get tails, and you do 40 damage for each heads. It's just never good. I feel like we've had a bunch of Pinsirs with coin flip abilities, and none of them have ever been really played. So funny card, but it's just bulk. So now we get into the interesting stuff. We have Spiririzzo, which we already saw from the trailer, which is 1 energy for try for help. It just gives you a random grass Pokemon from your deck and puts it into your hand, which could be nice. I actually prefer that over an attack. Then we have the second evolution, which is just 2 energy for 40 damage, 1 retreat, 90 HP, pretty nice. And then we have Meowscarada, which is 140 HP, so not the most HP on a stage 2, but at the same time it's 2 energy for 60 damage, and if your opponent is playing an EX Pokemon, it does 70 more damage, so you can do 130 damage for 2 energy. So that's pretty solid, because if you combine this with Geo or Red, you could possibly be doing 140 to 150. So you actually can one-shot stuff obviously Palkia and Dogga and even Arceus if they don't have a giant cape. So I'm not too sure how good Meowscarada is. Definitely a card that I think has potential, and I feel like you kind of need to find the right deck. Also kind of depends on the meta, because if you think about Rampardos' card right now is the second best deck, so you're not gonna be doing the bonus damage from the EX, but also you do the 20 bonus because most of their cards are already the grass. So this has a potential. I think this Meowscarada is not bad. I just don't think it's insanely broken, where I don't think it's gonna be super meta defining or anything like that. Yeah, so we looked at all the grass types. Let's go talk about Beedrill EX. So stage 2, 170 HP, very solid. 1 energy or 1 retreat cost, and then 2 energy for Crushing Spear, which is 80 damage, and it discards a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I think Beedrill is gonna be one of those decks where that's why I think people were playing the just Beedrill only decks, just the whole Beedrill line, 2 of them, and that's it. Basically 2 Ionos, Professor Research, maybe 1 Pokemon Communication, and just to get this thing online as fast as possible. And I think, yeah, if you go first and you can get Beedrill on as fast as possible, I think depending on what deck you are playing, I think it definitely can. I think the ability to discard energy can be super useful, but also at the same time, you're only doing 80 damage. So hopefully you get two-shot stuff. I mean, you can play stuff like Red to do the bonus damage on EX Pokemon, so like 100 damage, and then another 80 after that, so 180 in total, if not just 160. 160 though, like if you don't use like a Red or a Giovanni, isn't the best, to be honest, because there's a possibility you might actually have to three-shot something, and depending on how fast you get Beedrill up, the energy discard might not matter, because like for example, like Rampardos the card, if that thing is still meta, most of their stuff, like if you discard an energy, like they don't really, like most of their stuff is only like one energy anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Plus by the time you get it out, like they probably have like a Mars Shadow set up and like the card of one energy, so I don't really think it's gonna be too impactful like in that matchup. But I don't know, I think we'll have to wait and see. I think Beedrill is one of those Pokemon that like we have to like kind of like see what the meta is first, and I think if we can find like a good deck list, and if Iono is really that good, where like even though Beedrill is like stage 2, we can set it up very consistently and very fast, possibly could be a very nice like mid to like low high tier deck, I feel like. But there's no way of knowing, you know, until we actually get to play test these cards and see what decks are in the top. I still think Dogger Arceus is probably going to be the best deck in the game. We're just going to see if it's still at the 20% it's going to be, if it's going to go like lower down to like maybe like 12%, closer to the other top decks. But yeah, I think that's it for Beedrill. Also, like if you do want to play Beedrill with something else, I'm really not too sure. Like I was thinking of maybe like a 2 Spirito line with like one of each of the evolutions, or like maybe like Executor EX. Like we don't really have like a good like EX basic Pokemon. Like Celebi requires a lot of energy, so I don't think you just want to like set up 2 on Celebi and then like 2 on Beedrill when it goes in. So you can have like play a stage 1, and then that's like 10 Pokemon slots, so that's like less support cards you could play. So I'm not too sure like what the exact Beedrill deck is going to look like if you do play it with like a grass partner. Okay, next up we have the Charizard line. So Charmander, 1 energy for 20 damage, you know, 10 damage less than the other Charmander, but doesn't discard. Charmeleon, 2 energy for 40 damage, and then we have the Charizard EX. I'll go into that later. We have Magmar, which is 1 energy for 20. Potentially you could use Blaine, do the 50 damage. I don't think that's going to be super impactful. I mean, at that point I feel like you just also play like I don't know. I just don't think you're going to be running this really in Blaine. You know, Blaine's not super popular anyways. It's not really super meta. We have Magmortar with Smoke Bomb, which is basically your attack, and then the next time the opponent attacks, like they have to flip a coin. It's like the new Weezing. It's literally the same thing as the Weezing from Mythical Island. So I don't really think it's too impactful. And it's 3 energy, but only 120 HP. I just honestly, I don't see it being that good. Then we have Paldean Tauros, which is a basic, but it's 3 energy for 80 damage, and then you do 10 to yourself, and you only have 110 HP. I don't know, man. Like maybe if this was like 2 energy, I could see it being played because it's a basic. I think 3 energy is a little bit too steep, and like 2 retreat costs. Like I personally don't see you playing this because like the energy to attack is just so high. Maybe in a Moltres deck you attack like one of these in. I personally don't see the vision. I think the HP is too low. I think the energy cost is too high to attack, so you make it like 1 attack off and then you just faint. I just don't think that's worth it in this meta. But maybe it is good, bro, but I'm just not seeing the potential. Yes, now we have Charizard EX. So if you guys don't know, it is 180 HP, 3 retreat cost. Obviously still stage 2, and its first attack is Stoke, which 1 energy, then you just put 3 energy, so after that you'll have 4 energy on Charizard. So the next turn you could put the 5th one, and then you could do Steam Artillery. I feel like people are trying, I mean, I feel like you can make it work like Moltres and play like maybe like one of these new Charizards and then one of the old ones. If I don't know, you could like hopefully like find the stage 2s pretty fast. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what deck, like what fire decks, bro, like what fire cards can I do to like get a knockout? And then this Charizard 180 HP, it should live an attack. I think maybe like Palkia of a red is like the scariest like thing this deck could probably run into. Maybe like a Gyarados also. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I play some other fire types, or like some, maybe like even like, I don't know, maybe like a dual energy deck. You only need 1 fire. You get a knockout early, and then I think this Charizard, you come in, you use Stoke, you set it up, and then you knock something out in the following turn with like a red, and then you win the game like that. I feel like that's how I'm envisioning this Charizard being played, rather than a deck solely focused on just setting up on Charizard. But either way, I think this Charizard is very solid. I just don't know how good it's going to be because it is a stage 2. I think it really depends on how good Iono actually is from playtesting. I think if Iono is super good, where like stage 2s are way more consistent with the card, I can see this card being played. If not, I can see it. I see it being played more. I can see it as like a nice mid-tier deck. But I think it actually has like a lot of potential. I think we just kind of like got to find like that perfect deck to play it in. But yeah, I feel like it's you know, it's nothing broken. I think it's a very solid, strong card that won't. It's not going to be super crazy meta defining, but I think it can possibly pop up in the meta. I think you might be playing against these like in tournaments and online here and there. Plus, it's Charizard fan favorite. I feel like people are going to try to make it work. Good thing is it doesn't lose to Mew, so yeah, it's like the benefit over the old Charizard. So for the water types, we have Tentacool, which is just 70 HP. 1 energy for 10 damage. That's just thing that sucks. Then we have Tentacruel, which is 100 HP stage 1, 40 for 1. I just don't see this being good. I just don't think 40 is enough for a stage 1. I think this is a very like, so I don't know, I just feel like this is a waste of a slot. Then we have Breezel, which is 70 HP, same thing as 10 damage for 1 energy. And then we have Floatzel, which is 1 energy, and this does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's can hit the bench. Can hit the active spot. I just don't see it being that good for a stage 1. I feel like you could at that point just go play the Arceus Rotom, which is 1 energy, which is also colorless. You could play it in any deck, and it does 20 instead of 30. But that is stage 1, so it's not taking up that extra slot. And there's actually another Floatzel that's coming in the promo pack, which is 1 energy for 10 damage. But if your opponent's Pokemon has damage already on it, it does actually 60 more, so you can do 1 energy for 70. I think that one's actually pretty decent. I think this Floatzel is not that good. Yeah, then we have Wiglet. So Wiglet is just 60 HP, Spring Out, does 30 damage to your random Pokemon, basically a Dragoness ability. Then we have Wugtrio, which is the same thing, 3 energy, but it does it 3 times for 50 damage. Get into Wugtrio in a little bit. We have Dondozo, which is partnered with Tatsugiri. Tatsugiri's ability is that Dondozo has a free retreat cost, which, you know, I don't know if you would really play at the end of the day, because like Tatsugiri is not really doing anything. But it's 4 energy, and it's literally the exact same attack as Articuno EX, 80 damage and then 10 to the bench. Like, that's a really good attack and ability, because, you know, Articuno is like the 3rd best deck in the game right now. Like, the problem I see with Dondozo is it's only 120 HP, so it's gonna get one shot very easily, and the 4 energy over 3 is very bad, because like Articuno, at least you have like that 40 damage attack that you can do if it's in the active spot, where the Dondozo, if you like start off at Dondozo and you're not playing Tatsugiri, it's just stuck in there. And I just don't know. I don't personally see it being meta. I think it's a very funny deck. I kind of wanted the Dondozo to be good, because I feel like a Dondozo Tatsugiri deck could have been really cool, like a unique concept. But I think the 4 energy rare is what kills it, because, you know, like, you basically have to play Manaphy, and at that point, dude, for 4 energy, just go play Manaphy Palkia, Palkia EX. In my mind, I just feel like that's overall more solid. Also, just go play Articuno. Then, like I said, we had Tatsugiri, which is just Dondozo has no retreat, and then 1 energy for 20 damage. Nothing special about it. So Wugtrio EX is a card I feel like actually has a lot of potential to be very. I feel like a lot of people think this is a gimmick at the end of the day, and I thought that too when I first saw it. But I feel like the more I've been thinking about this card, it's either going to be a gimmick or it's actually going to be slept on broken. So 3 energy does 50 damage to 3 random things on your opponent's board. I mean, if they only have one thing, dude, that's going to be doing 150. I don't know, man. I just, this with like Manaphy, you could also maybe like play like a Palkia EX and Origin Palkia with it. And I don't know, I just feel like it's a really solid card. Like, I feel like, dude, imagine going second, having Wiglet and Wugtrio just landing in that 1 Misty Flip to do this on your very next turn. I just feel like that's kind of like crazy strong. And even not like maybe like going second and then you have a Dawn with like a Dawn X speed with Manaphy. That's another option to get Wugtrio going online on the second turn. I just feel like the potential, I don't know, is like pretty decent. Plus, you know, water is just a very strong archetype that has access to Manaphy, Misty, and Irida. So I feel like just because Wugtrio is water, I feel like there's the potential already there, because there's so many strong cards you could partner with. So now we have Pikachu, which I'll get to Pikachu later. We have Voltorb, which is 1 energy for 10. This is just garbage. Just a couple of the other ones that do more damage. We have Electrode, which is 90 HP for 2 energy. You do 50 damage, but then you do 30 more if you're at the heads, which is just very confusing, because so that could possibly do 80 damage. Let me just type it in real quick. That is not how you spell Electrode. Maybe if I could just do this. I just don't understand that, because we have this one that is just 70 damage for 2 energy, and it's like, yeah, it's 10 less HP, but it has no retreat cost, where this one has 1 retreat cost and it's only 10 more damage. I just feel like these are just legit pack fillers. There's like nothing special about them. Pachirisu, 70 HP, 1 energy to attack, does 10 damage. Also, you could ramp up energy, electric energy on your bench. So pretty solid. It just, I don't know. The only thing bad is if you do, like, it does damage, and unlike Manaphy that doesn't do damage, so you could actually possibly attack it to your like a Rocky Helmet, which could potentially like put Pachirisu to getting like knocked out by like a dog or something if you don't have a potion. You know, like you attack, hit the Rocky Helmet, you go down the 50, dog attacks, you go down the 30, and then if you attack once more, you just faint by the Rocky Helmet. So I think maybe doing the 10 damage actually might be more hurtful for Pachirisu than beneficial. But maybe the 10 damage can't matter if like Pikachu EX or like whatever electric type you are playing with this. And then we have Palmy, 60 HP, 1 energy for 20, 2 energy for 40, the evolution. And then we have Palmot, which is 140 HP, and it has the counter attack ability, which is the same thing as Poliwhirl. And I think something else has this too, where like if they attack you, they take 20 damage. If Palmot's in the active spot, I guess the same thing as Druddigon. But 70 energy for 2 energy, it's just not worth it, dude. I mean, Poliwhirl was never good. It's only doing 70 damage, like 90 if you attack it. I just don't see it being that good. So then we have Pikachu EX, which is 120 HP, 3 energy, Thunderbolt, 150 damage, which is a very nice damage output. But it discards all the energy, and you know Pikachu is pretty low HP, which actually does get one shot by a lot of EX Pokemon, even with the addition of Red. That only makes it worse. So stuff like even like Venusaur or Beedrill can one shot Pikachu if they use Red. Also, you know, fighting types are like the second best deck in the game right now, unless that changes obviously with the new cards. Like we have no way of knowing, but I'm just like saying as of now, Rampardos is the second best deck going into this. So that's one disadvantage. I think people are focusing on making like a Pikachu EX deck. I think Pikachu EX is like a card that could be slotted into a Lightning deck as a one copy, and you basically use it as the end games, like end game winner, to get the final KO to win the match. I think that's how I would personally use Pikachu, because I think just trying to like glass cannon Pikachu into going like Pikachu EX and the Pikachu EX, I just don't see that working. I just think you have to have too many cards. You have to have the Dawn, you have to have the Magneton, you have to have too many things to go right. Like too many things have to go right for that, for that deck to work. Where like if you play Pikachu as like a one of and then just have it in the back, so maybe you go in with like a Magnezone or some other electric type, get like a KO, Pikachu can get that EX knockout or like just knockout in general that you might need to win the game. I feel like that's the way I would personally play Pikachu. But I'm gonna have to wait to see what other people cook up, bro, because I think it could be gimmicky. I don't think it's gonna be super consistent. I think you might see one here and there in competitive play. I just don't see it being like a super meta defining deck that's gonna be like everywhere. So next up we have Psychic types. We have a new Alakazam line. So Abra 1 for 20, which is nice, I guess. We have Kadabra, which is 1 for 30. Way better because I'm pretty sure the other Kadabra offers 3 energy to attack. I could be mistaken. I guess I could also look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Maybe it was 2. No, yeah, it was 3. So this is way better because you could actually attack, you know, before you go in Alakazam. Plus this Alakazam is 2 energy, so 130 HP, which is, you know, pretty decent. Better than nothing for stage 2 non-EX, and 2 energy, 80 damage, and also does 20 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon in the bench that has energy on it. For stage 2, I don't think this is going to be good because you're going to attack like once and then get knocked out because it's only 130 HP. Plus, like, what if your opponent just doesn't have anything of energy in the back? Or like, I don't know, I just don't see it being super useful. Plus, like, you know, Psychic types are just not really there right now. I don't think it's a bad card. I just think it's an alright card. I think you might see it online. I just think in competitive play is what I'm basically thinking about when I'm looking at these cards. Like, I'm playing competitive. Casual Cyber, I'm gonna be messing around with all these cards, but like I think it's decent. I'm definitely gonna try it out, but I just don't think it's anything crazy. We have Mystery Mine, which is 2 energy. You flip 4 coins, and for every head you land 20, so you could potentially do what, 80 damage. It's just not worth it, bro. For 2 energy, just go play something else. Then we have Drift Bloom, which is 60 HP, 1 energy for 20, and then we have Drift Blim, which is 1 energy, 40 damage, and no retreat cost. I think the no retreat is nice on it. I still don't think 40 damage is super insane, so I don't think it's gonna be seeing play. But it's something. It's better than nothing. And then we have Gimmighoul, which flip a coin of heads during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage. So it's basically Vulpix. You know, if you land heads, your opponent can't do any damage to this Pokemon, which is cool. And I think Gimmighoul is the first time we actually have a Pokemon that because we go down here real quick, like I'll talk about it when I get there, but I think it's the first time a Pokemon evolves into a different type, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe there was someone I'm forgetting, but it's something interesting. Then we have Giratina EX, which none of these cards literally benefit it, so I'm gonna have to like think about what the other cards are. Plus, you know, you might not even play psychic types with this. So 4 energy and 130 damage, 150 HP. You do 20 damage to yourself though when it attacks. So you go down to 130, which, you know, RC just one shots you, or like 150 of a giant cape, which RC is still one shots you with a with a red. And once during your turn, you take a psychic energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon, but then your turn ends. I see a lot of people gassing Giratina EX up. I personally think this card sucks because, like, okay, you spend 4 turns, maybe like 2 to 3. Using its ability, ramping it up, and then all of a sudden you go in, you attack, like you do 20 damage to yourself, you do 130 energy, maybe 150 or 140 depending on if you're using a Geo or a red. You may get a knockout, you may not, and then it just faints. Like, in my mind, like, I don't know, I think this card is personally the most overhyped EX. I don't personally see it being good. I hope I'm wrong because Giratina is a sick Pokemon and I want all the EXs to shine. I'm just not seeing the vision, bro. I think you're taking so much turn. Your opponent's going to be ramping up so much. And I feel like by the time it comes in, you, like I said, you just get one, like you do an attack and then you go one shot. And then like if you're using this as like a late game sweeper, I don't even know, like maybe you play like Giratina in the active spawn, like Dark. I heard like Giratina, Dark Route, chip with Giratina in the active spot, chipping off Dark Route, and you're just playing Dark Energy because, you know, this could set up itself. I just don't feel like that's good either. I don't know. In my opinion, I don't see the vision of this card. I don't think this card is good at all. I think if this card didn't damage itself, I think this card could have been actually amazing. But I think the 20 damage is literally what's going to kill the card, in my personal opinion. I hope I'm wrong though. I really do hope I'm wrong. So we have a new Machamp line, which is Machop is 1 energy for 20, which is cool. And it's also a 1 retreat cost, so it's better than the other one. Machoke, which is 2 for 30, and then if you're looking at the heads, it does 30. The other one's just 2 for 50, so just go play that one. It's way better. Same HP, same retreat cost. Then we have Machamp, which is 2 energy for 70 damage. If this Pokemon has 2 extra energy, so you need 4 energy, you can do 50 more damage, so possibly up to 120, is it? Yeah, so do 120 for 3 energy. Just go play Machamp EX, to be honest. I think you play the new Machop, and then you play the old line with EX. I think just play that over this because it's 3 energy for 120. I don't know. We have a new Hitmonlee, which is 80 HP, and it does 30 damage for 1 energy. I mean, it's literally just a copy of Hitmonlee, dude, like, or a Hitmonchan, the old one, like literally. Hitmon, like, dude, it's literally just this. It's just so if you want to run 4 copies of this, you literally just can now because you run these 2, bro. It's kind of like crazy. We have a new Hitmonchan, which is 3 energy for 90. You're never gonna be playing this. Fighting decks like low energy cards, this is 3 energy. By the time you even set this thing up and attack, it's just gonna die next turn, and you're not even gonna get a KO because only do 90. We have a new Riolu, which is doing 2 energy for 40 damage. Like, I still think you would rather play the old one for 1 energy, so you get attack on turn 2 if you do go second. I just don't think it being good because we have this Lucario for 3. Even though, like, I still think the other one is better. And we have Flamingo, which is flip 2 coins, attack is 50 for each head, so possibly 100 for 2 damage, or 2 energy. Pack for Lucario. No one's gonna play this. The Lucario is interesting. I think it's gonna be played as a as like an end game card. I could see being very strong of Cyrus. Like if you have like another, like the regular Lucario up, so you're doing 120 damage. You do 120 damage to something, and then 30 to the bench. Then you Cyrus something in the following turn, and then you get like the double knockout. I think that's the way Lucario is gonna be played as a and yeah, I don't know. It's a solid card. Also, the 150 HP on a stage 1 is very fantastic, meaning that if you have a giant cape, RCs can one-shot you even if we're red. Okay, so now we have dark types. We have Ekans, which is 2 energy for 30 damage. This thing sucks. Arbok, which is 3, and your opponent is poisoned. This thing also sucks. We have Wooper, which actually does poisons for 1 energy, which is I expected because it's going to be very good for Clodsire, which does 2 energy, 60 damage. If the opponent's Pokemon is poisoned, it is 120. I think this is the lowest energy amount in the game for a stage 1 that is 120 damage, I believe. Maybe there's like a coin flip one that does, but I think this, like, you know, I don't know. Also, 160 HP for a stage 1 is phenomenal because usually they're like 140. So this thing's pretty tanky. We have a new Spiritomb, which is 1 energy, and it confuses your opponents if you land heads, and you're not gonna be playing it. We have Shroodle, which I didn't even realize this Pokemon was named that, but you know, 1 energy, 20 damage, pretty nice. But its evolution is very good with Clodsire, so It's basically drowsy, but for poison. Flip a heads and your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, and it does 2 energy for 40 damage. You really just want it for the ability of Clodsire to poison in case the active Pokemon isn't poisoned when you go to attack. And I actually think Clodsire plus Graphite is, I don't know how you want to pronounce that thing. I think this could have been a meta deck, to be honest, bro. But I think, why did Arceus have to be immune to all status conditions on the top of being one of the best attackers in the game and only having 2 retreat cost? I think if Arceus is meta, I think Clodsire could be good. I also think Clodsire could just be good, bro. I think just 2 Sabrinas in the deck and a Cyrus potentially, bro. Like if you get in the coin flips, you can get Clodsire like online pretty early. I mean, dude, 120 damage or 20 energy plus, you know, 160 HP. You're a pretty tanky guy, man. You're a pretty tanky guy. You're also a funny looking guy. And yeah, this is a deck I really hope I get 2 Clodsires on day 1. On my pack opening later, because this is one of the cards I want to test the most because I just love Clodsire. I used it in my Scarlet and Violet run, and I just, dude, he actually seems like low-key the best EX card in the set. Like personally for me. We have the Tinkaton line, which is 1 energy for 20. We have 2 for 30, and if you land ahead of 60 more. And then we obviously have Tinkaton, which is 3 energy for 80 damage. You land ahead is 80 more, possibly 160, 170 HP, very respectable. With 2 retreat costs, whatever. The thing about Tinkaton is what is it? I don't really need to talk about these other ones. I'm gonna be honest, these things like are not really good. But Tinkaton, I think it's gonna be either Pillar Dog or Skarmory. I think those are just the best partners for it. Yeah. Basically, Tinkaton is good if you're landing the heads. If not, it's pretty mid. But I mean, dude, if you have like a tournament around your and you just landing heads, one-shotting these Arceuses, Doggas, it's gonna feel like an amazing deck. If you keep landing tails, it's gonna suck. It's basically the Executor situation, but better. We have a room which is 1 for 10, and then we have Reveroom, which is 3 for 70. And basically, you attack, your opponent can't attack back. It's one of those cards. If you land heads, it's basically Wugtrio. It's just these cards have never really been meta. Plus, it's 3 energy. If it was 2, you could if it was 2, I could see it possibly being played, but 3 energy is what kills it. We have Goldango, which is literally just a Celebi for metal type. So yeah, I guess Goldango, whatever you want to call it, bro. I think, you know, you could be playing this with Dogger to ramp it up. It's just gonna take longer because you need 3 before you get an attack. But yeah, flip a coin for each metal energy attached, and does 50 damage for each head. Literally just Celebi. Stage 1 though, and a non-EX. Well, 120 HP only, which kind of sucks. So you might just like set like 5 or 6 on this thing, and then just get 1 shot after. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because I feel like this card has potential. You know, it lives or dies with the coins. We have new Rattata, 1 for 10, Raticate 2 for 50. It's just filler. Jigglypuff, we have 1 for 20. I think we really had Jigglypuff for 1 for 20, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually kind of curious now. I know we have the Sing one, but let's just see what happens. Oh, we have 2 for 30. So I guess, you know, if you want a Jigglypuff that attacks, I guess that actually is better. If you're playing like Wigglytuff. We have this new Wigglytuff, bro, that's actually very solid. Stage 1, and you heal 20 from your active. So, you know, just basically a better Butterfree and a Power Crop Butterfree, which is cool, because I always thought Butterfree was kind of solid, bro. So I think this card actually can make stall decks pretty much better. I'll get more into it when we get to the other cards. We have this Lickitung, which is 2 for 30, and then we have Licky, which is 3 for 70. This is just filler, and you would not be playing any of these. Maybe you'd be playing this Lickitung if you're playing Licky EX, but that card is also pretty bad. Bidoof, which is 2 for 30. You probably would just play the 2 for halving your opponent's thing. We have a Barrel, which is actually a little bit better than what I thought it was because of this Wigglytuff. So I'll just talk about it now, because we already talked about Wigglytuff. All these other normal types really suck, colorless, whatever you want to call them. So 160 HP, 100 damage, and for 4 energy. So literally the same thing as Venusaur, and you heal 30 damage. So originally I thought Barrel EX sucked because, okay, 4 energy, that's pretty hard. So you either have to play with Dolga or Manaphy to ramp it up. You heal 30 damage. I was like, okay, well, you heal 30 damage and then you just heal 1-shot ball Dolga. But if you actually play Barrel and Wigglytuff, you can heal 20 plus the 30, so that's 50 plus, because if you're playing the Manaphy parent, you could also play Irida, which is 90. Or if you actually play this new Pokemon Center lady, which I'll just say now, heals 30 damage. So you could possibly heal 80 to 90 damage in 1 turn, which is actually pretty solid. Yeah, it's just something to think about. Like, I don't know. It's not as bad as I thought, you know, if you have all this stuff set up, but I still think it's not. I don't think it's still super good. I think it's going to be funny. I think it's going to be fun to use. I don't think it's going to be super meta. But then we got the new Baneri, which is 1 for 20. Then we got Lopunny, which is 1 for 30. And yeah, it's just more filler. Then we have this card, which is 80, the new cycle dragon thing. So 1 for 20, and then your next turn it does 20. It's like, yeah, it has like 20 more HP than Farfetch'd do, but I feel like Farfetch'd is better overall because like you have to like attack for 20 and then you do 20 more. I don't know, like unless I'm reading this wrong, I don't think it stacks. Like I don't think you do like 20, 40, 60. I think it's just 20, 40, 40, 40, 40. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I could be wrong though. If it keeps stacking, then I think this thing is actually kind of crazy. But if it only does 20, 40, 40, 40, I think it's whatever. Then we have the support card. So we have Iono. We've already know Iono. So I think, you know, Iono is just more draw support. Possibly could buff stage 2 to a point where they're actually like playable in the meta. I don't think it's going to be used as a disruption. I think it can be, like, for example, like if your opponent uses like 2 Pokeballs and and they don't like place the basics down, you could potentially, I don't know, to try to get like their basics out of their hand. I think that has potential in that. I think it's mainly going to be used like, okay, I start, my hand's not that good. I don't know. Okay, my hand's pretty decent now, or maybe you just draw a bad hand again. I think that's how Iono's going to be playing. I definitely think it's going to be like a one of in most decks. So yeah, I expect to see this card a lot. And yeah, it actually can be annoying. Like maybe you start with a good hand, but your opponent has a bad hand, so the Iono, and then all of a sudden you have a bad hand. But I think it can be very annoying. I think it's gonna be actually very toxic. Sometimes I think sometimes it's gonna be whatever, because you're like still drawing the same amount of cards, not like red card or Mars, but it still always has that factor to like screw you over, which is definitely gonna always be. It's always gonna be a feel bad moment when you have a god hand, but then it just shuffles away. And then we have Pokemon Center Lady, which I already talked about, Hill 30, and also it does it recovers one of the special conditions, so I guess this could potentially counter Clodsire as well if some decks are running this. It kind of like depends on what the meta is and like what card you are playing. If the 30 damage is like super like it's super meta defining, or like if it's super like if it lets you live like one more attack is what I'm trying to say, bro. I don't know why I'm trying to like think of some fancy words, bro. Because like, you know, potion, you could use potion and like something else in the same turn, but like this is a support, like a trainer card or like a supporter, so you can only use this and like no Sabrina on the same turn. So I think it's solid though. I don't think it's super meta. I don't think it's super crazy, but I think it's a very solid card. I think the other support cards are just so broken. I think people might not play this because they want to be able to play like potions and something else in the same turn, like I mentioned. We have red, which is just 20 more to an active Pokemon EX. I think this is going to be very meta. I think people are going to be playing one of those, especially if the meta is heavily EX. Yeah, if the meta is just a very lot of like EX Pokemon like Dog or Arceus still, I see red being played. And then we have Team Rocket Grunt. So one thing I would like to say about this card before I get into this card, I don't think it's going to be super meta. I think it's going to be super toxic. But I see a green hair lady, bro, and if you could tell by my profile pic on my YouTube, we like green hair anime woman on this channel. So I kind of want this full art card, but flip a coin until you get tails. For each head, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So first off, it's a trainer, so they're going to be using this. They can't use something like a Sabrina. I don't think it's going to be super meta because like cards already don't, like, we only have 20 deck slots, bro. I think some decks like could barely fit stuff that they want to fit, and they might not even do that. I think the times when you run into this in tournaments and someone is playing this and it does happen to you, like a Misty's going to be a Phil's bad moment. It's going to make me want to just off myself. But I don't think it's going to be a staple. I think you're going to run into them like Misty's occasionally. Well, Misty's like, you know, you play in every water deck. We're like this dude. Maybe you see this card like 1 out of 20 matches, but like if it happens to you, bro, you're gonna hate the card. And I already don't want to face it against this. This already seems toxic, bro. I've already been terrorized by Misty. I don't need another card that does this to me. But yeah, that is every single card. So let's just look at the full arts. First off, this thing is cursed, bro. This thing is disgusting. I hate it. This thing, I saw this thing last night, bro. Like before I went to sleep, I almost got nightmares. Like, bro, if my opponent has 2 of these on the bench, I'm conceding, bro. Yeah, but my chase cards, bro. I mean, I want the full art monkey, Grafii, whatever, however you pronounce it, bro. Because I actually want to play the Clodsire deck. I like Tatsugiri, but you know, whatever. This Meowscarada I want just because I like Meowscarada. And yeah, so I think my chase ones are these 2. I think the 2 stars. Dude, Clodsire kind of like looks like, I don't know, bro. It kind of just looks like shit, bro, in the background. I know it's supposed to be like mud, but I don't really like any of the 2-star ones, bro. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, I don't know. Also, why is he looking at me like that? Hold up. I think my chase cards for the 2-star trainers are definitely gonna be Iono and Para Red, and Team Rocket Grunt, even though I don't know how much I'm going to be playing it. You know, like I said, for a green hair anime woman. The rainbows, I really like Pikachu, although I really don't care about Pikachu as a deck. I still would like to have one, low-key. But I want Clodsire and Giratina, but I think I love these two rainbow cards. I feel like they're actually like, phenomenal. Beedrill is just a silly little guy, bro. I wouldn't mind getting this either. I'm not a big fan of the Giratina immersive. I think it's cool. I just don't really care about Giratina, so I don't really give it. I really don't give a shit. I really don't give a shit about it, bro. I think these would be these things would be cool, like the shinies, because you know I want to play Beedrill. I don't really care. I guess a shiny Wiglet too, I'll take. The main thing I want, bro, please, bro, I have no crown rares. I do not care about the Pokemon ones. Please let me get a pair of these Pokeballs somehow tonight. Please, man, I want this card so bad. It looks so clean. Even if I'm a tournament winner, bro, but I don't care if I lose my next couple tournaments. If I can get, I'll sacrifice my skill for 2 Pokeballs, bro. Please. Yeah, anyways, I think that does it for the list. I think the set was kind of like, I thought the set was like pretty garbage when I initially saw it last night when it came out. I still don't think it's the craziest pack. I don't think any of these cards are as broken as like Arceus, for example, or like something like Palkia. But I think it's a solid set. I think you don't have to go out of your way to get these cards. I think if you already have all the other cards and you want some new cards to play around with, I think they're definitely cool additions and definitely can have their I think like I think some of them could be like kind of like meta, like some like mid tiers, like the low high tier decks, maybe even like high tier. I don't think anything's gonna be like top tier in this set, to be honest, bro. Maybe like Lucario EX being played in Rampardos could be like the one that makes it out. I don't believe in Giratina, bro. I think the main thing is Iono and Red. I think those two are gonna be crazy cards. So I think the cards that are non-EX, I think all the EXs are like the main chases from this pack. I think the cards that are not EXs or chases are like Meowscarada. I think it could be decent. I think, I guess Hitmonlee, because it's literally just a Hitmonchan clone. Obviously the monkey for Clodsire. I think Goldango could be funny, and Wigglytuff, and then the trainer cards. I think those are like the cards that chase that are not EXs. For the most part, it's just the EXs and the support cards. So like I said, this pack is all right. Nothing crazy. And yeah, overall, I'm just excited to play this, man. Tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but the night. 7 more hours. And now I gotta go edit this 40-minute video, bro, because I've been yapping. So if you made it this far, have a lovely day, and thank you guys for all the love and support.